It's like a summer burger. Very interesting.
Today we got vegan black bean burgers, one from Jamie Oliver versus one from the Minimalist Baker. But which is the better recipe? It's time to find out.
Well, Jamie Oliver is the biggest name, so we'll start with him, and the very first thing we'll do is chop up this red onion really roughly. I've also got some oyster mushrooms and some shiitake mushrooms and the Central European black beans, and they're all going to go into this, a tiny food processor. So we'll chuck all of those in no particular order, and I'm also going to add in some rye bread, which I'm just going to roughly break up with my hands, a little bit of ground coriander, and in the words of Jamie Oliver, wazz that up. He says it's okay if there's a little bit of texture, so we'll leave it there. And now I'm going to throw in my rinsed and drained black beans, but as you can see, it doesn't matter how much wazzing I do, it just doesn't want to be woes. So let's take a quick peek in here. Yeah, it looks like a donut. So I think the best course of action is some brute force and ignorance, maybe a little bit of spatula action as well. But again, the food processor is just refusing to wazz. But we'll remind ourselves that Jamie said texture is good, so let's keep moving forward. I'm just going to scoop all this into a little bowl, careful to remove the blades there because it is actually really sharp, and then I'm going to form these into patties. Now, I halved this recipe, so this should make 2 patties, which actually turn out to be ginormous. But before we bake them, Jamie has this little trick where he seasons the baking tray with some olive oil, some salt, some pepper, and some extra ground coriander that just simply refuses to leave the tub. Throw on those monster black bean patties and then chuck them in the oven. But while they bake, let's make some salsa. I've got the other half of that red onion, which I'm just going to quickly chop, and as you can see, my chopping board is a little bit warped, so it's quite unstable. Then I've got these fancy little tomatoes, which are still on the vine, so I'll spend a little bit of time taking them apart and then chop those up. Also, I prefer not to get a lecture about safety because I've learned about this method that you use a wet piece of kitchen paper underneath, but clearly I did not do that here. Okay, so let's keep going by adding in some more slippery items like this lime, which I'm just going to chop in half. Then transfer that all into a bowl. And when you squeeze the lime juice in, you should really give them a bit of a gun show. You should really work those muscles, get as much juice as you can. And then some chipotle chili sauce. Stir it all together and that's your salsa done. But there's a plethora of toppings to go on this burger, so let's start preparing those. We'll begin with this avocado, which I'm just going to cut in half, remove the stone, use a spoon to scoop out all of that beautiful flesh, and then slice it up nice and thin. And now we're going to peel this mango. And again, remember this chopping board is really unstable, so wish me luck. A little bit of danger, as I like to see. A danger cook. So after removing about half the skin, I'm going to try to make a big fat slice of this stuff by slowly gliding the knife around the pit of the mango. Get rid of that little bit of extra skin that I missed, and then we'll slice this quite thinly as well. I think it's fair to say that I managed to keep all my fingers here, so I should get a like and subscribe for that. The burgers are nearly done, so before they finish off, let's just put on some vegan cheese to kind of melt that on top. Now, we all know that vegan cheese doesn't have the best reputation for melting, but I'd rather that than have to deal with all that suffering. But enough of that, let's start assembling the burger. We'll start with a bun, obviously, some vegan yogurt, some of that chipotle salsa we made earlier on, then this gargantuan burger with some slightly melted cheese, then some of those mango slices, a few slices of avocado, which have since lost their color, but don't worry about it, move past it, some freshly chopped coriander, even more salsa, because that's what Jamie asked for, and then an extra swig of chipotle sauce as well. Give it a lid, and this burger is absolutely massive. But will the Minimalist Bakers be even bigger?
So really quickly, before I jump into the Minimalist Baker recipe, I'd love a comment from you if you could tell us what you'd like us to try next, because, you know, there's a good chance I'll actually do it.
Okay, step number 1 is to toast some quinoa, or quinoa, as I used to call it. So we're going to put this into a dry pan and keep it moving so it doesn't stick or burn. We want to toast that up for a few minutes and then add some cold water. Stir it again, put a lid on it, and then cook it up, just like rice. While that cooks, we're going to multitask today, by the way. So while that cooks, we're going to put some black beans on this tray, give them a sped up pat dry, grab those little bits that didn't quite make it onto the baking paper, and then stick them in the oven for a few minutes to try and remove some moisture. So as you can see, some of them have cracked, but we're not quite done yet. We're going to add some pecans to this and then put it all back in the oven for a few more minutes. At this point, the quinoa is done, so we're just going to give that a little fluffing up with a fork and set that aside to cool. But now we're back to the beans and pecans, and as you can see, they've all kind of cracked and started to dry out a little bit, which is a good sign. That's what we want. So let's set those aside to cool as well. I've done this off camera because it's quite a long recipe, but I've peeled and sliced some sweet potatoes, and we're going to cook those up, put a lid on it for some reason. I don't know, I'm just following the recipe. And then just turn those occasionally as well until they're browned on both sides. Remove those sweet potatoes and replace them with mushrooms, which I've also pre-sliced for you. Cook them up for a few minutes, add some optional coconut aminos, or alternatively salt, like I did there, and then set those aside to cool with the potatoes as well. Now it's time for some tiny blender action. So we're going to put in our cooled beans and pecans, and then pulse those up a bit. Again, we don't have to go too fine. They don't want a powder. Apparently the Minimalist Baker also likes a lot of texture, so they're looking pretty good. Now we're going to add in our cooled mushrooms and sweet potatoes, half of the quinoa, keep the other half for later, a good amount of ground cumin, then a bit of salt as well. And also we're going to put in some barbecue sauce. We've once again run into the Central European problem. This time I couldn't find any chili flakes, but I've substituted with chili paste and I've adjusted it accordingly. We're going to blend this because we can't Wazz it, because only Jamie can Wazz things. And it does look really tasty at this point. It looks quite good. I'm happy with that. Now we'll transfer this into a bowl and add the rest of the quinoa and stir that around with a fork. Next, we're going to squeeze these into patties. And again, I halved this recipe, so it should make 2 burgers, but they're humongous. What is with these huge burgers these people are making? I'm impressed, but I don't know how necessary it is. So those burgers need to sit in the fridge now for 30 minutes. And when they're done, they're going to go into this frying pan, which I'm going to melt in some coconut oil. I was actually supposed to use coconut oil for the mushrooms and sweet potatoes, but the recipe wasn't that clear and I just kind of defaulted to the regular stuff. But if you're taking count, this will be the second time that pretty much every single ingredient in this burger will be cooked. And as you can see, one of them is kind of split open, but we can work with that. She can get the good one. I'll take that one. I'll just fix it a little bit for me there. Hold on. And then we're going to baste them both with some barbecue sauce. Rub that in with a little brush, or like me, use a teaspoon. And now they're going to go in the oven to cook these for a 3rd time. I gotta say, this is, for a website called Minimalist Baker, this is a very maximalist recipe. It's been cooked and cooled and cooked and cooled and then put in the fridge and then cooked again and then cooked again. But anyway, we're getting there. So let's start chopping some toppings. All of these are optional, by the way. They don't count as part of their 10 ingredient recipe rule, which I'll explain in a bit. So you've got some thinly sliced radish. Actually, you know what? I'm going to explain that now. So the Minimalist Baker has this kind of self-inflicted rule that every recipe should be either 30 minutes or less, or 1 bowl, or 10 ingredients or less. Now this one apparently is 10 ingredients or less, but there's 11 ingredients just in the patty. One of them is optional. And then they got these optional toppings, including optional grated pepper, which you can't actually see this, but it's just splattering pepper juice all over the back of my wall. We got some optional lettuce and of course an optional bun, because when you think of a burger recipe, do you really need a bun? Let's start assembling this. So we'll start with the optional bun, some more barbecue sauce, spread that around with a spoon. We're going to go in with the lettuce now. Actually a bit more lettuce, let's fill it up. The better quality patty that mostly held its shape. Then the grated red pepper. Then our sliced radishes, some optional pickles, not showing our optional grated cabbage because there was none in the shop. And finally the lid, and this thing is falling apart a little bit already, so I'm not going to push this down too hard, but let's serve it up to my splendid wife for an honest taste test.
So first I'm going to try the burger from Jamie Oliver. Well, it's very high, so I'm going to have to... So it's biteable, but it looks great. It looks really good. I'll try having a bite like this, but I think I'll need a knife. It's interesting. It's cool. Like, you can definitely tell it's like a veggie burger. But if you're not expecting like a meaty taste, I think it's great. You can like taste the black beans. You can actually taste the mushrooms. I have more. I don't think I got the mango. It's a little bit messy to eat. I think it's because the burger is kind of like crumbly. Yeah, it's nice. It's quite like a fresh burger, like a summer burger. Very interesting. But it's not a flavor that you would expect from a burger. If that makes sense. Like it's not at all. It's like almost like a salad tasting, but in a burger shape. It's kind of cool. I can definitely taste the mushrooms. Just taste it like a little bit earthy in the patty. Maybe I would prefer it if it wasn't yogurt, if it was mayo. Yeah, so now that I've almost finished this burger, I'm gonna try the one from Minimalist Baker. This one looks a bit different. I can see different toppings, and it looks like the patty has like quinoa in it and stuff. Yeah, excited to try it. It's hard to eat them without it being a mess. It tastes more like a kind of a what you'd expect a burger to taste like. If I wanted a burger, I think I would prefer this kind of taste. It tastes more like kind of like a warm, like kind of traditional homey meal. And this one is just, yeah, different. Yeah, like this one is more of like a comfort flavor with the pickles and the barbecue sauce. This one you can really taste kind of the beans and then the quinoa. It's like strong. I like the sweet potato, but I think I'd prefer it if it was just like sweet potato in it. You know what I mean? Like as an extra kind of slice of baked sweet potato and then like this patty, if that makes sense. Like I think it doesn't come through as much in the patty. But yeah, no, I like it otherwise. Cool. Yeah, and I think like all in all, when you take a bite, it really works, like all of it together. The same with this. They're just very different. So like texture-wise with the patties, this one I prefer definitely. Like way over the other one. That one just feels a bit like dry. and like crumbly, and this one's more kind of put together and like smooth. Because like I think this one just has like an unnecessary crunch. I think it's like a crunchy patty, which I prefer if it's not. Yeah. Like I like the taste, but I think the texture isn't my preferred texture.
Just a quick reminder that all the recipes are in the description, and if you would like to subscribe or share this video, I'd take that.
Alright, so that Minimalist Baker recipe took absolutely ages, so hopefully my burger will be both quicker and easier, but also combine some of the best of both recipes. So we'll start with frying up some sweet potatoes, and I'm going to do some extra ones so I can use as a topping later on, as requested by Tiggy. Sprinkle over some salt and a peppering of pepper, and then no need for a lid, we'll just cook these up until, well, actually they're kind of slightly burned, but we'll get away with it. Actually, you know what, I took that away too fast, so I'm going to show you them. Keep it transparent. So we're back to the blender again, and we're going in with some shiitake mushrooms, less rye bread than Jamie used, some red onions, most of the sweet potatoes, and then the black beans as well. Let's throw in some barbecue sauce for good measure, some cumin powder, a little bit of extra salt, some garlic powder, which is a new ingredient, and then blend it all up. Now, I've run into a problem here. I've blatantly overfilled this thing because nothing is moving, but we'll get there. It might just take some time. Let's borrow Jamie's trick of seasoning the pan with some olive oil and some coriander powder. Now, I'm going to do something different with my patties. I'm going to make them much smaller and thinner so we can have like a double cheeseburger style, which I think might help with the crumbly problem. So I'll make 4 of these, but to be fair, they're quite sticky, so I'll stop that here and make the rest off camera. They baked for about 15 minutes, and now we'll throw on some vegan cheese and try to melt that up. Put it back in the oven for another 10 minutes or so, and they should be good. So one of the criticisms of Jamie's recipe was the yogurt that he uses as a sauce. So I'm going to go with some regular vegan mayonnaise, but I'm going to add in the chipotle sauce to turn it into some chipotle chili mayonnaise. And just like that, we're ready to assemble with a non-optional bun. It's mandatory. You got to use a bun. And then a generous spreading of the chipotle mayo, some of those lettuce leaves from before, some freshly chopped tomatoes. I'm going for some traditional style toppings here, you know, except for the avocado, because I know my wife loves avocado. And then we'll go with patty number 1 and the reserved sweet potato slices. Top that off with your second patty, some pickles, and a lid with some extra chipotle mayo on it because I was kind of concerned it would just fall off the side. Give it a little press down, then serve it up to my delightful wife for the final verdict.
So I'm about to try the best of both worlds burger. It looks very nice. I see the sliced up sweet potatoes and pickles and 2 patties. So I'll give it a go. Actually very big, it's hard to bite. It's really nice. Like with the toppings, I think this is my preferred one because it kind of tastes more like a traditional burger would. And the patties taste like good. It's a little bit like smoky, a little bit sweet. You can taste the bean because it's beans. And I guess you can kind of taste the mushrooms, but not much. Mostly beans with like spices. The texture is softer though, like than the other ones, because this one maybe could be too soft. What I like the most is like a fake meat burger, and they're always a bit like chewy, but I don't know how you can replicate like chewiness with beans. So I think you did a good job. Like the other ones I liked as well. If you want like a proper burger, I think maybe a bean patty isn't the way to go, but it's good. I think it's a cool thing to try, I think. But I think if I wanted to make someone go vegan, I would offer them a fake meat burger and not this. But if someone was already vegan, then this is cool.